Hey guys, my name's Justin and welcome to Hellsboro, where we care about the design behind designer luxury. And if you do too, make sure to subscribe. I don't know. What is that? Anyways, I'm extremely excited for today's video. Today I wanted to just talk about one of my obsessions, one of my favorite brands to have ever existed, and it's an American brand. It's called Telfar. I just wanted to kind of like go through like everything you might want or need to know about Telfar, kind of give you some details about like how to buy it, what you're buying. One thing I want to mention is like, yes, this is a Black-owned business, and yes, supporting Black-owned businesses is a really great thing that we should all be doing. But just because it's a Black-owned business is not the reason why I'm obsessed with it. It's the intense level of like marketing, community building from like this brand perspective that takes in design and this kind of like humanistic approach to creating this brand. If you add all of that on top of the fact that it's a Black-owned business, it's just like a long list of reasons why I'm obsessed with this brand. First off, I wanted to start with like a little bit of history. I'm going to keep it super brief because I am not an expert or like a fashion historian by any means. Telfar, the brand, it shares, the brand name shares, okay, English, hold on. The brand shares its name with its namesake, who is the founder of the brand, Telfar Clemens. But then Telfar Clemens and his family did quite a bit of moving before kind of like settling down. He's from Queens, but then they moved to Liberia before the Liberian Civil War happened. After that, they left and then moved to Gaithersburg, Maryland, before returning back to New York at some point. So a fun fact, the Telfar monogram, I don't know if you can see it actually, like the little T with like the circle around it. Telfar actually had a teacher when he went to PS 206 who would make monograms for the students in their class, and that's where the Telfar monogram came from. I think it's a really interesting history to it, where like, I guess typically like the monograms are like from people's children, like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, like it's both from like their children that designed it. So I think it's really interesting that instead of it being Telfar, because he was still very young and was a child when it was made, it came from an educator, and I think that's really inspirational and like really amazing that like there's kind of like that tie to like education and like the school system just like being there for like kids, and like I don't know, it makes me like think of all like the great teachers I had. But okay, let's get back into it. But then the actual brand Telfar was founded in 2005 while Telfar Clemens was at Pace University, where he then graduated in 2008. Following that, Telfar Clemens won the, I have to look at the name of this award. Oh, so it was the 2017 CFDA Vogue Fashion Fund, where he got $400,000 to kind of like jumpstart his brand, which, amazing. And then in 2020, he won the CFDA American Accessories Award, which I think Telfar is mostly known for their accessories, right? But beyond the accessories, the eponymous shopping bag, Telfar Clemens also does clothing, shoes, jewelry. One interesting thing to note is that the clothing is very grounded in like American sportswear kind of history, where it's taken into a little bit more of like the athletic side, I think, where there's a lot of like sweats, hoodies, but then you even see like jersey style things, a lot of deconstructed basics, or reconstructed even, I think. And then one part of the brand that I actually really enjoy and I want to invest more in is the shoes. I actually have a review of the Telfar boot, which I'll link up in the corner in the description, but it's high quality leather shoes that incorporate the Telfar logo in really interesting ways. So definitely like check out the offerings. I feel like a salesperson. I'm just like, well, but the thing is like, I love this brand so much, I will do free advertising for them because I love them. The team there is so nice. Like the customer service, okay, we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about the most like famous part of the brand, which are the shopping bags, the tote bags that I think you see there was a lot of hype about, there still is a lot of hype about, and there's still a lot of love for them. A very basic shape, these rectangles with like a top handle and then a longer strap, no matter what size, whether it's small, medium, large. It's like they're vegan leather, but it is like, it's plastic, but it is the way that it's made, it doesn't wear the same way as other like fake leather bags that I've worn. So for me, I already think that's instantly like an upgrade compared to those other brands. And then one of the most interesting things about these bags, I think that you'll hear from anyone, is that there's such a wide array of colors. And the colors can be like pretty typical, like you'll see like a black, a tan, ox blood, but then you'll get ones that are also like tied to like memory. There's like a swimming pool or something like that, bubble gum, which yes, it describes the color, but then there's also something that's kind of like reminiscent of something else. There's even ones that I think are meant to like represent the concept of like different body parts or even bodily functions, where we have like is like the roast beef one someone compared to like being a certain part of anatomy that some people have. And then there's the glue, which is also compared to a certain bodily function that some people do. Like the practicality of the bag, the simple but beautiful shape with that giant logo. Well, not really giant, it's very beautiful in proportion with the rest of the bag. And then just the array of colors. People have really fallen for this bag. Even before all these crazy colors came out, it was affectionately called the Bushwick Birkin because it was kind of like this really hard to get item. Not too many people knew about it, and it was kind of like one of those like if you know you know, right? Like I remember like being in college finding out about them. I lived in like Florida at the time, right? I was in school and I was like looking up on a website and it was like, oh, the Bushwick Birkin, Telfar, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I would love to get one of these bags. And I went to the website. Most of them actually were in stock except for the one that I wanted, which was the medium black. And I was like, I'm not going to wear any of these other ones, so it's fine. I'll wait. And then like the brand kind of like fell out of like my consciousness for a while until like a little bit of hype started like rolling up again. And it was like, oh, hold on, this is unlocking a memory. But I think what struck me as the most interesting from when I first saw it when I was in college to when I had seen it like kind of blow up, like I would say, I guess like 5-6 years later, is that the availability was insane. Back when I saw it, when I was just scrolling on the internet in college, there was like a bunch of colors and a bunch of sizes. It was just basically the black medium that was out to it being just constantly sold out. I thought that was so remarkable and so interesting of a contrast of like my different experiences. But then this is where I kind of want to talk about like the concept of like the Telfar bag, the drop, and the other different kinds of programs and like events, I guess, that Telfar has. One of the questions that I like hear a lot is like, how the hell are you supposed to like buy these bags when they're always out of stock? And that's kind of the thing. They run on a drop system. If you want one of these bags, go on their website, put in your email for the newsletter so that you get like the email for whenever the color comes out, or you can follow on Twitter, Instagram, I think pretty much everywhere. Then you turn your notifications on and they will announce the color. And typically it comes out in all the sizes in the color. Sometimes they'll even do multiple colors at once. If you're into the color, you get it. If you're not, you don't. But one thing that's remarkable that Telfar has done is that like right before the hype got crazy, he noticed that the bags were selling out so quick. Sometimes it was being attributed to resellers. So the idea was, how do we stop this from happening? So part of it was just the fact that they were so popular that these bags did just sell out in seconds. But part of it was that in case there were resellers, how could you at least limit it so that the resellers didn't have the advantage of buying like 20 bags at a time or something like that, right? So then what he did was created a website that I think is a little bit easier to use, where you like have your CAPTCHA, you have all these other different things where like you put in your info and then you're able to like, even with your info and do Klarna, whatever, blah, blah, all that stuff. It really at least let me know, and I think a lot of people know, that the brand Telfar and Telfar Clemens himself cares about the people that he supplies his like bags to. I mean, it's even in the tagline where it's like, it's not for you, it's for everyone. But then on top of that, what I think is the absolute, I know I keep saying remarkable because I just think this brand is amazing. But what I really do think completely changed how like fashion and this kind of exclusivity that has been created over this like short amount of time that Telfar Clemens has run this brand, created this brand, is that he's introduced something called like the bag security program. What is it? Okay, I looked it up. Yeah, it is called the bag security program. It hasn't actually happened in a while because there's been other things, so I'll talk about that later. But the bag security program, what it was, the first time it happened was I think August 2020, but it was basically like a mass pre-order. So you ordered whatever bags you wanted in whatever size, quantity, color, any of the shopping bags, and you pre-ordered it, and then you would have that bag tailor-made for you. Granted, it was the same bag as someone else got the same size, color, etc. But it was a bag being made for you that would ship out, I think it was like 6 to 8 months later or something like that. For me, what was revolutionary about this idea is that you're kind of democratizing fashion. So like if people couldn't buy the bags and the drops because either like they just weren't quick enough or they didn't have the time to be able to do it, there was this bag security program which was open for several days where you could pre-order your bag as long as you weren't going to move, which I was always moving during these drops. It's the first time I've ever seen something like that done in a way that it's making this like exclusive product very accessible. He created that program fully knowing that the desirability of the bag wasn't going to go away and that there's also always shifting needs for people, right? Like if people want to just try it out, they get it, they love it, and then they want a different size or a different color or something like that. There's always going to need for that. I think it's that confidence that allowed a program like that to exist. And I mean, at this point, it's happened 4 times, so clearly it's successful. And then there's a couple of more like events that are similar to this that happened. But then I also wanted to talk about the exclusivity of some of the other bags. And these ones I think are typically not part of like the security program. It's the duffle, which at first was insane to me. So it has this kind of like papillon, like if you know the Louis Vuitton, like it's like a little cylinder bag with like a long shoulder strap. And then eventually the bigger size, which is kind of like a duffel that I've actually seen styled like as a backpack. The way to get that one was through Telfar TV, which you had to have like Telfar TV on, and then occasionally it would give you like the number of the website where it would send you to the drop, but it was very limited and you had to know. But I do have to say, there was a post on Reddit where it had the link to it, so you could just go there if you wanted to. I went there and they had them in stock, but I also didn't buy it because I was like, do I want this? It's not really like my thing necessarily, at least the bag shape wise, because it's very like shoulder bag. Okay, anyways, let's get back to the actual topic. So there's that bag, and then there's also the circle bag, which I actually really like. Taking like the Telfar logo and then turning it into kind of a top handle bag, of course with a crossbody strap, because Telfar loves versatility in his bags, something that I greatly appreciate. And then the last little like core offering that Telfar actually just introduced is like the pill line. I mean, it seems to be like a very similar, if not the same kind of like nylon that the eastpak collab is, which I'll talk about that later. But it's this like circular kind of bag. It's almost not a bag, it's more like a, I don't know, it's like a trapper keeper. But the fact is, like, it's a clamshell kind of like pouch where you open it up and there's zips to contain everything with like a central flat piece that in the medium, which is what I have, you can put like cards in. But now that we've talked about some of like the core bag offerings from Telfar, I wanted to shift into some of the collaborations, which I thought were some of the best parts, right? With these kinds of collabs, I think they used to sell out super fast, but there's a point now where there's a little bit of limited availability for some of these bags, where at least on the European website, I haven't actually checked the US site in a while, but on the European website at least, it has like bags in stock where you can see actually some of these collaboration bags. I don't think that means anything in terms of like overstock or supply or whatever. It's just, it could also be like a separate warehouse or something. But then the first collab I wanted to talk about is the collab with eastpak, where Telfar kind of like reinvented the bag from the perspective of a backpack company. I am a huge fan of this backpack. I'll use it to go to the gym, I'll use it on trips. It's such a good nylon bag. It's very sporty. But then the idea is that you have the option to do crossbody versus straps. And the fact that it's made in 3 sizes that are very similar to the shopping bag sizes, I think that's great. It adds a little bit of like humor to it, to me at least, where it's like, it's kind of like a doppelganger, right? It's like the Wario to the Mario of Telfar. Welfar. And then for the rest of these collabs, I'm gonna try and like breeze through them because I feel like I don't have as much of a connection with them necessarily, but the next one is the collab with Moose Knuckles, which is a puffer jacket brand. So they made a puffer Telfar. I think there's a certain point where like they did that, and then Telfar did like their own version of a puffer on their own, so you can see both kind of versions, where like one of them, Moose Knuckle puffer Telfar bags, was actually made out of leather, which I think is really interesting because every other offering is actually like the vegan leather, like fake leather. Past that, another cold weather offering collaboration is Telfar Uggs. That was like a certain level of iconic that I'm like, okay, if I literally could have bought some of the Telfar Uggs, I can't because it's shearling on the inside and I'm allergic to everything warm and fuzzy. I would have, or at least I would have tried, you know? But like when they debuted it and they like had on like the whole like Telfar TV thing, I think the guy's name is like Jito, and he was just like, all I want this holiday is Telfar Uggs, and I sing that. Like on Christmas, I'll sing it. On my birthday, I will sing it. On a Tuesday, I will sing it. Just like I'll wake up, be like, all I want this holiday. Like I will like, because this is how I sleep. All I want this it haunts me in a good way. On top of the boots, they also had like a shearling bag where this actually was like nubuck on the outside and then shearling on the inside, so it looked like an Ugg boot. I love the idea of taking these like iconic like brand codes and putting it into a different shape, a different format, or something that just kind of takes it out of its element and makes it something new. I think it's genius. The next two I wanted to talk about were just kind of like actually shopping events in a way. So Telfar partnered with Century 21, that was like quite a while ago, where he actually took over one of the Century 21s, at least part of it, and he sold his bags and sold his stuff from there. Funny thing is like if you actually go onto like Vestiaire or somewhere and you search like Century 21 Telfar, you'll see the shirts that the employees like wore for the event like available, and I'm not saying that I want to buy one, but I want to buy one. And then on the flip side of that, we have the Rainbow event, which just happened. So Rainbow is a store, it's kind of like Forever 21 in a way. Fast fashion, affordable. He took over a Rainbow in New York, took everything out, and it was just literally like bags lining the walls in all these different colors. And like, if I was in the US, believe that I would have been in the line and I would have been there just so I could also have seen him. Because like, he's like a little celebrity to me. But then what I think is interesting about that is they did the same event in store and digitally, where you queued in line and then you picked whatever colors you wanted and then, you know, checked out whatever, which I think is really nice for that feeling of like inclusivity, being able to participate for people who maybe aren't so close to New York, like me, who's in Europe. These last three things that I just briefly want to talk about are collaborations that Telfar either did with artists, brands, whatever, fast food, where he actually designed the clothes. So in 2017, Solange did a performance at the Guggenheim where he actually designed the outfits for that performance. The second thing is for White Castle, he redid the White Castle uniform. And actually, for a while, I don't know if they're still available, but he had like White Castle stuff for sale because he loves White Castle for some reason. I know there's more history to it, but I'm like, I don't need any explanation. Like, if someone wants to celebrate fast food, I'm all for it. I'm here for that. I love fast food. And the last thing I think is one of the most notable ones. He designed the Liberian Olympics team uniform, and you could actually buy those as well. And I think that's really amazing. The shapes of them are beautiful, and seeing the athletes like walking out in them was so cool. That's actually like, I was like, I'm gonna watch this Olympics for sure because I want to see it. And then I saw it and I was like, nice. And then next, very quickly, I just wanted to touch on some of the controversies. From my perspective, Telfar is not to blame in any of these. And I think anyone would say that because it mostly comes from the other side that kind of like wronged Telfar. So the first one I want to talk about is the Gap, which like originally they announced that there was going to be a collaboration between Telfar and the Gap, and they even like had some promotional clothing made for it where it was like the Telfar logo upside down to be the G in the Gap. Genius. I would have bought them out. Instead, they dropped Telfar for Kanye. And then it ended up being a flop where you see like all of these like big industrial bags just full of stuff that people had to pick through. I'm like, come on. And we all know it didn't do well. Like if you had done Telfar, that would have sold. That would have been so amazing. There's a certain alignment where Telfar knows how to do branding in a very similar way if you think about it, to how the Gap was, like maybe back more in the 90s when they were more prominent. And I think that collaboration would have been like the perfect alignment of like this kind of like brand specific kind of marketing. But I think Gap really like flopped on that. So sorry, not a fan of Gap. The other side of that is another brand that starts with G. It's Guess. So Guess fully stole the concept of the Telfar with a similar material, identical shape and size bag as the Telfar shopping bag. Even so far, it's like when they were called out on it, they just pulled their bag. They're like, okay, sorry. Like, are you kidding me? I think in general, Guess has been in their flop era because like, when was the last time like Guess was really relevant? But for them to just try and like hitch onto someone's star that's on the rise by just copying them blatantly, like you are a huge business. Telfar is a brand that like, sure, it seems small, but it has this like insane cult following that's very passionate and very protective of both the brand and the designer. So how are you gonna think you can pass something off? Sorry, now I'm just ranting. But then I wanted to kind of like wrap up this video with a little bit of like a how-to on buying the shopping bags, because like while any of the drops can be difficult to kind of get in on, I think the shopping bags are still some of the toughest. In general, I think the quantities and the supply have been getting a lot better so that they don't sell out in the seconds like they used to, even just a couple of years ago. Especially now that we're seeing like a lot of different colors and more crazier colors that maybe aren't to everyone's interest. But I still think it's interesting to talk about and important to kind of invest a little bit of time before in case you want to ensure that you can get a bag. So my first step flat out is make sure you are subscribed to the social media or the newsletter. You can do both or at least one of them just to make sure that you have the opportunity of knowing when the drop for whichever color is happening. I said it before, but when they're dropping these shopping bags, they'll either pick one or two or maybe sometimes multiple colors where they'll drop them at the same time in all sizes, and you need to know what color is happening. So if you like that color, you can be on the website when it's happening. Now, the next part is about like actually purchasing the bag. So when you want to purchase the bag, there's multiple ways to do it. And there's a couple of easier ways, I think, now than it used to be. There is Klarna, which you can put your info in there and like have all of your stuff set through there. And there's also Apple Pay, I think, now, which if you have any sort of the Apple ecosystem, if you have all of that set up, super easy, basically one click besides verification, done. But then if you don't have Apple Pay or if you're not interested in Klarna, what I would do is actually go into the website, make an account, and then you fill your information there, like your delivery address, your billing address. I don't think you need to put your card info in unless, I don't even know if they give you the option for that actually. Basically fill in as much information as you want to and feel comfortable doing so that when you're in that checkout, you can just click through and be like, yes, yes, yes. Make it simple like that. And then my like very specific tip, maybe 5 minutes before the bag drops, go on the website, it'll show you like the coming soon page. Pick one bag. If you're really worried about it, pick one bag that you want. If you want the medium in highlighter yellow or something like that, right? And you're like, oh, I'm scared that it's gonna sell out. Go to that medium highlighter page and there's gonna be a button that says coming soon. Keep refreshing. As soon as it hits like 59 going into the 00, keep clicking on the reload until it says add to cart. Add to cart, go to cart, check out, do that. If you wanted to try for another bag, you can go back and then just fill your cart with other stuff if it's still in stock. But that's what I used to do. I used to have to go there very specifically right as it's changing to do the very specific set of like 3 or 4 clicks just to ensure I can get a bag. And it used to work for me every single time. But now, like, I think because supply is so much better and Apple Pay is a thing, I think it's a little bit less stressful. But still, like, I know, like, it still can be pretty competitive. So if you are anxiety riddled like I am, there's an option. One thing that I also wanted to talk about is I know Telfar has said not to buy from reselling websites like Vestair or eBay or something like that. Don't buy from them. But one thing that Telfar does still to this day is use third-party retailers. So it's not a reselling site. It's actually you're paying MSRP or maybe a difference of like currency exchange or whatever, depending on wherever the third-party retailer is. But places like Essence used to sell Telfars. I don't think they sell it anymore because he's already like in Canada. LNCC, they sell Telfar and they have things available. Same, I think even Suffrages has some Telfar stuff. A lot of like different stores in the UK or like based out of the UK will carry it because Telfar does have a hub out of the EU. Then you can buy it directly from the website there. But since the UK is not in the EU, you can do it through that. But I know a lot of countries actually have like customs agreements with the UK so that if you order something from a store there, you most likely will not have to pay customs. I will just double check it. I do think that supporting these third-party retailers that are actually like getting their stuff from Telfar to sell in countries where it's maybe not so available is great, because then you're also telling these retailers like, hey, I want the stuff that you're getting from Telfar. So that means there's going to be more accessibility, more variety when it goes like to all these other places. It's just basically saying like, hey, this is working. And I think that's important to do as well. That being said, buying from the Telfar website is the most legitimate. It's kind of the most fun, because the idea of the drop is, unless I'm like silly, but like the rush that you get of like, oh my god, I'm gonna get it. But in general, I just think this is a brand that knows what they're doing. They care about their customers. Like, I've only ever had amazing customer service experiences from Telfar. I mean, just for a quick personal like anecdote, when I bought from the Rainbow Drop, my bag actually came like a couple weeks after, and they let me know, but when they let me know, they also gave me like a coupon for, I think it was like $100, which was like, okay, cool, thanks. I don't care that my bag's late because I've already had to wait for it, so whatever. I mean, no, I needed that $100 to really trust the brand, so yeah. But then on top of that, there is a certain point where I got an email from Telfar about just like, I think it was just a customer loyalty kind of thing, where he offered, here, have a free whatever, like a free belt or something. And I know other people have gotten this kind of offer as well. And I just think like, you don't get this from other brands at all. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's now that I'm getting into more personal stuff, I think I want to wrap it up, because I just want to give like a kind of general understanding of the brand, all the different touch points that I have, and awareness that I've gained over the years in following this brand and loving this brand, obsessing over this brand. I mean, I'm obsessed with Telfar, and I can't wait until there's more expansion and more things are made available globally, because come on, like some of these clothes, they're not available in Europe, but when they are, I will absolutely buy them. But now I want to hear from you. Let me know what you guys think. Do you love the Telfar brand? What do you think of it? Do you own anything from there? I would love to like compare and contrast and see like, are we twins? Are we twinning? I don't know, that's like my favorite thing to ask you guys, because if we're twins, I'm like, okay, every time I wear this bag, I know I'm gonna match with this person. But that is all I have for you today. So if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like this kind of content and that you too care about the design behind designer luxury. Until next time, Telfar. Telf easy. Am I allowed to say that? I think so. I want this holiday. Telfar Uggs, Telfar Uggs. Telfar Uggs, Telfar Uggs. Telfar Uggs.